Good morning, gentlemen, brethren. If you look at the cap I'm wearing, I'm in Makurdi, capital of Benue State. And I want to thank God for technology that has enabled me to join you this morning to discuss a very important issue, which I believe is only wisdom and the leading of God can help us deal with. This is the time when everybody is wondering where we are and where we're going. The world has been decimated by the issues we have watched and seen in the last 1.5 years or thereabout. So I want to thank our leaders in the Southwest 3 and the committee that is handling this, my brother and friend Edeworo and his group, for being consistent in putting this annual seminar together as a way of helping all of us to upgrade our knowledge. So I thank you for keeping faith with this seminar, and my belief is that God will grant us the opportunity to get 1 or 2 nuggets of wisdom that may help us not only recover every loss we have had during this COVID, but also find a pathway to growth and a pathway to prosperity. The COVID-19 pandemic, as I said, disrupted the global economy severely. That is no longer news, and no country was spared. No business was untouched. Of course, some countries and businesses were worse hit than others for various reasons, ranging from inadequate preparations, shoddy responses, disbelief, conspiracy theories, and God's grace. As at this week, I think the world has reported 175 million, about 175 or 176 million cases, with nearly 3,800 people dead globally. 3,787,000 people dead globally. 175 million afflicted or infected, with over 3.8 million people dead. Of course, the United States of America, India, Brazil, France seem to be the worst hit. And today, India seems to be carrying the can. Nigeria, like many other countries, especially in the third world, seem to have fared better due to several factors. Some of these factors are known, some are not known. We're just speculating. We talk about our weather, we talk about our food, we talk about all sorts of things. But in my view, it is mainly due to the grace and mercy of God that we have these very low figures we have in our country. Because if we had seen a quarter of what the USA, Brazil, Italy, or India face, it's difficult to imagine what will have been our fate. So it is of the Lord's mercies that we're not consumed, according to Lamentations 3:22. Economy and business disruption. Nevertheless, every economy was disrupted, despite the level of infection or the level of deaths that have been affected in every country. There's no country whose economy and business has not been disrupted by COVID-19. And this is what has led to a global economic contraction and subsequently into a global recession. I believe that the following factors may have led to the economic contraction and the global economic recession. There's no country, very few countries came out of COVID period without economic contraction, very few, if any. And the reasons are clear. One is restriction of travels. For once in a lifetime, people were constrained to stay home. I mean, I had never experienced it in my life to be at home for 6 months or thereabout without traveling. It had never happened since I became an adult. And that happened to many other people, businessmen, business managers, and all sorts of people. That alone will lead to economic reduction, because it is the level of human interaction, the level of human movement that actually propels economic growth. So that was the main reason. The second is, of course, related to that is national lockdowns, which were restricted movements and curfews in many places. We had closure of factories, closure of distribution outlets, and things like that. Closure of businesses and offices, closure of restaurants, closure of markets, even government offices were closed in a number of countries. Some places, sometimes even banks were closed for a couple of days or months. You know, schools and educational institutions were disrupted, and even sporting activities and competitions were disrupted. You know, Olympics was to have been held last year in Tokyo, Japan. It's been moved to this year, and even this year it's been threatened. Most people say it should be postponed again. So these are factors that have led to economic constriction globally. The third is disruption of global logistics, movement of goods and products. For us in Nigeria, for a while, we couldn't get goods out of China, and now we're not getting goods out of India. So these are the things. India and China have become the global manufacturing centers, and the moment they coughed, the rest of the world coughed, some less than others. Those who had some bit of internal domestic capacity to produce what they needed didn't feel the shock. Those of us who are fairly dependent or largely dependent on importation, both of raw materials and finished goods, actually are trembling and shaking because of this disruption of global logistics. Planes didn't fly for a long time. And after when they started, you couldn't go to everywhere in the country or in the world. Then the fourth cause of economic constriction is loss of human capital through sickness and death. You know, I mean, that's exactly the impact of COVID. People died, people were sick, people were hospitalized, and these are labor. These are some of them skilled labor. Very important human capital was lost through sickness and death. So that alone, I mean, if you take away over 175 million people or 176 million people who didn't go to work because they were sick, and of course we have had those who have died, you will understand why economy locally and globally should shrink, and why businesses will be disrupted, and why we are seeing what we are seeing. In Nigeria, in addition to the above global factors, there are additional factors that have led to economic decline. Number one is drop in demand for crude oil and the subsequent crashing of price, reaching as low as negative values. There was a time oil became negative when people were asking to be paid even to receive oil. One time in May or April 2020, this happened. So oil for almost at a time became useless, valueless. And for me as a Nigerian, it was a big shock and a reminder that someday oil will be of no value. But it's what has affected our own level of economic decline, because suddenly we couldn't sell oil and the prices crashed and national income crashed. And so we went into a recession. Secondly, the herders-farmers clash closed the militant Fulani invasion, banditry and kidnapping, which restricted farming and agricultural activities. Our country, farming agriculture is still a major contributor to GDP, over 20% contribution to GDP. So anything that will affect agricultural output will immediately impact on our economic well-being, because you have other factors, food inflation. So the restriction to farming and agricultural activities was additional contribution to our case, not just because of restriction, because even when people were to go to farm, they were being hacked to death, and there was all kinds of confusion in the country, and that confusion has not ended. As we speak, it's still happening. Number three, or C, of the issue in Nigeria is poor economic management. Poor economic management that we find in our own economy. You know, and that competency has resulted in high inflation. Inflation grew for almost 18 months. It just moderated in the month of May. Steep devaluation of the naira. I don't think I need to tell anybody. Naira has crossed the 500 mark, which we thought it would never cross. And some people are predicting that it will hit 1,000 naira per dollar. My prayer is that it should not happen, but I don't have control over this kind of things yet. The other is scarcity of foreign exchange for importation of raw materials, machinery, and equipment. Many companies cannot accept foreign exchange to import raw materials, import finished goods, import their inputs, even import finished products. It's so bad that even those who receive some concessionary loan from CBN, like in the pharmaceutical industry, to upgrade their facilities and their plants, their money is still tied almost 1 year after they received it, because they can't get foreign exchange. And in the process, there's devaluation, there's inflation. So the loan is already depreciated, devalued, so that when they do get foreign exchange at a devalued rate, it will not be enough to pay for the equipment or the machinery or whatever it is they plan to import. So these are factors that are causing problem for us and disrupting the business environment further. D is little or no fiscal stimulus for businesses and households. You know, in the US, there were cycles of stimulus, 3 trillion, 2 trillion, 1 trillion, billions of naira were being passed by the Congress to give to small and medium scale enterprises. Checks were given to individuals. Those who had households and children, they were given free check, not loan. They were given money almost all over the United States. So that helped to buoy them, to keep them buying, to keep them meeting their minimum needs. So that prevented the economy from crashing. But in Nigeria, there is not much happening. The CBN tried to do one or two things, but those monetary policies were not strong as fiscal stimulus that many countries got. So what do we have in Nigeria? We have a negative GDP growth for 2 quarters. Even now, we have 0.11, 0.04. That is no growth, because when you factor population growth, which is almost 3%, you find that we're still in recession. High poverty rates exceeding 50%, high unemployment and underemployment rates reaching 65% the youth population, high misery index reaching over 50%, business decline output and margins. Many companies have low margins in their business, some low turnover, and of course, business failures and closures. Many companies have failed. Many are closed because of this situation. So that's what we face in our country. And that is, believe, is the context for which this seminar has been called, so that we can understand what we are facing through and prayerfully seek a way to come out of it, to restore our businesses through a path of recovery and growth. So the next section of this paper will now focus on what are the things we need to do to quickly take our economy and businesses back to where they ought to be. The first is what I call a business review. I don't think anybody should get back to the post-COVID business and continue business as usual. You will be taking too much risk, and you show yourself as not having learned anything. So the first advice is take a full and dispassionate view of your business performance in the last 5 years. Do a review. What was your business in the pro-COVID era? And I just suggested like 5 years review. How was your business? Was it growing or was it declining before COVID? Then what was the COVID performance? Because sometimes we speak in abstract. When business is doing well, we say it's not doing well. When it's not doing well, we say it's doing well. These things can only be borne out by fact. And since nobody's going to be asking you this question, it's not a tax agency, it's not regulatory, just you. Check your business. What was the trend before the COVID? Was it growing? Was it declining? Or was it stagnating? You need to tell yourself that truth. Then what was the exact impact of COVID? What was the exact impact of COVID? And then you're able to situate that into what else to do, so that you know whether your business grew, because the truth of the matter is that even though many businesses were disrupted, many businesses face decline, typically as it is in the world, one man's disease, one man's poison, another man's bread. Some people's businesses grew in this period. So if your business grew, you cannot join and say, my business failed. You need to understand, and what made your business to grow? What made it to remain resistant during this period? You need to understand that, so that you can then use those knowledge to plan further growth or recovery and whatever it is that you can find from this analysis. Number two, you then do a holistic competitive appraisal, because the only way you know what's happening in the market is to compare with those is doing badly. It's not just you alone saying it. You can think you're doing well, you are growing at 10%, and your competitors are growing at 50%. You can't be doing well if you're growing at 10%. And if your competitors are growing at 2% and you're growing at 5%, you can say you're doing fairly well. You are growing above the market rates. So everybody must measure what is going on around him. What are those people in the same industry doing? So the question is, what was the industry rate? Was the industry growing pre-COVID? That is one question. Two, how did the industry perform during COVID? And three, how do you compare? Are you out competing or under competing? That is the next activity after you have found your own, measured your own performance. I'm saying this because for those of us who have companies that are properly audited or publicly quoted companies, it's easy to get this information. But for the small businesses who have no shareholders to report to, or a board even to report to, these figures are hardly measured. Sometimes people do just for audit if they to pay tax, and sometimes the right picture is not presented. So that's what I'm saying. You need to do this for yourself if you don't want to present it to anybody else, because what we are speaking about is how to. recover our businesses and show growth. And where to start is to be fair. Is to be fair to yourself, is to be truthful, is to be sure that you are not deceiving yourself. Because if you deceive yourself, there's nothing anybody can do for you. Even God can't do much for you. You have to tell yourself the truth, and you have to be sure that you're familiar with your environment and you can measure your performance vis-a-vis your competitors. After you've done these first two things, my next suggestion is re-engineer your business. Re-engineer your business. And re-engineering your business means, what do you do to compete favorably? Because that's the way businesses are run. You may not easily outperform your market or the economy. If your industry is growing at an average rate, you can hardly grow at twice that rate. If you did, the next year you do what they call correction. So we're always compelled to grow at economic or market rate or industry rates. That is what works in the economy. That's how the economy balances things. So how do you compete favorably? If your industry is growing at 5%, how can you grow at 5 or 6%? If it's growing at 20%, how can you grow at 18 to 22 or 25%? That is what we call competing favorably. And to be able to do, you look at your business model and redesign it. Because every business must have a model. You must see how you provide value in the chain. Are you at the beginning of the chain? Are you in manufacturing? Are you in distribution? Are you in retailing? You must know your model. How do you create value? And that is the first thing you need to know, and compare it with the best in the market, with best national and probably best global standards, and adjust your business model to be sure that that model is still viable and it is globally or nationally competitive. Number two, check your business structure. You know, what kind of organogram do you have? What kind of bureaucracy do you have? How is the chain of command in your business? Is it the type that allows decisions to be taken fast, or the one that delays decision? Is it the one that puts power in one man's hands, so that everybody has to wait for him? If the MD is not there, nothing happens. If the finance director is not there, nothing happens. If the chairman is not there, everybody is stranded, you know, waiting for them. You check. Such business structures may no longer be useful in the kind of 21st century, IT-driven, online, instantaneous decision-making economies and global environment that we belong to, that we are fostered with. So check your business structure, check your organogram. Is it hierarchical, or do you want to flatten it, democratize decision-making in your organization so that you can respond to the market faster? Number three, check your money level and adjust. Do you have enough people working for you, or do you have too much? This is something you need to do through a deliberate review. And it's after you've done this that you can decide whether you need more people or you need less. Number four, check competency and skill sets of staff and retrain. Is your staff, including yourself, the MD, the CEO, the chairman, what is your skill set? What's your competency level? Are you familiar with modern day tools for managing business? Are you familiar with IT-driven applications and tools to run businesses? That's what you need to ask yourself. I need to sit down and ask this question, and then check your staff, because it's human beings that make businesses grow. It's human beings that make businesses prosper. It's also human beings that destroy business. Many times the destruction is not deliberate. It's because you have incompetent staff that are not properly trained, that their skills are not upgraded. The skills with which they entered the company many years ago are still what they have to today. This is worse with small businesses who do not find budget for training and for improving skills. This time, if you want to grow and recover, you must have appropriate skill sets for your staff and for yourself. Finally, on that, check your business systems and overhaul. How do you run your business? What are the processes? What are the standard operating procedures that you have? Are they 10 steps procedures or 20? And are they still viable for this period? Some businesses have no business systems at all. So every day there's a new system. There's no order to what they do. There's no sequence. I have always felt that if you have a sequence, even if it's a two-man business, and everybody in the business knew or knows what he or she is supposed to do from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, what he does first in the morning, what he does next. That is sequence. That's business system. Your purchase, how do you purchase? How do you sell? How do you buy? How do you record? How do you distribute? How do you collect your money? These are business systems, and you need to look at all of them and overhaul. Number four things that we need to do in this effort to find a pathway to business recovery and growth. The fourth thing is set or reset your vision. You know, some of us may have had vision where we say the next 5 years will be here, the next 10 years will be here, the next 2 years, this is where this business is going, this is the kind of volume we'll achieve, this kind of profit level, this kind of market share will acquire. But with disruption of COVID 2019, virtually every business lost at least 1 year. So you now need to reset your vision. The strategy you have for 5 years, is it still viable? You need to have a look at it and reset it. Or if you didn't have any at all, you set a new vision so that you can have a distance. I will never stop talking about vision anytime I have opportunity to speak, because the Bible says without vision, the people perish. Without vision, the company perishes. Without vision, the nation perishes. You have visionless leaders, there's nowhere the country, the community, the people are going, they can't make much progress. So for businesses, no matter the size of your business, always create a vision where you want to be, what you want to achieve. Because in my experience, when you have set yourself a vision, you determine where you're going and when you want to reach there, that God arranges all the forces and the hosts of heaven to support you, to make the wind blow in your favor, is because you've set where you're going. If you're going nowhere, no wind will blow in your favor. So undertake a strategic retreat or review, which is critical for you to be able to do even the other things I've asked, the first 2, 3 things I've asked. You need a strategic review to sit down with your 2 or 3 of your member of staff. Maybe you invite one consultant, somebody who has experience in industry, to help you to moderate or guide you or facilitate that retreat. It can be done anywhere. It can be done in the office, can be done over the weekend, it can be done off station. You can do it as your budget allows you. But it's important that you take time out of your business and sit down and think through. That is if you want to recover, if you want to grow, if you want to outperform competition, if you want to maximize the potential of your business, you need time to think through that business and set new targets, new visions, new objectives, new key performance indicators, and all that you require to drive the business to the next level. The 5th item is capital adequacy. Capital adequacy. Most businesses always will need more money, either because they're expanding, or because they are going into new markets, or because they are producing new products, or because they have aging equipment, machinery which they need to replace, or they have capital erosion, either due to poor management or high levels of receivables high levels of write-off. There are all kinds of things that eat up capital in business. So every once in a while, the company is unable to move at the rate it's supposed to move because it does not have enough capital. For us to recover and grow post-COVID, we need to take opportunities in the money market, in the CBM products that are developed, so that you can get more money, especially debt. For once, CBN is pushing with Bank of Industry and the development banks to give us a single-digit regimen. That's why they crashed interest rates and also have given, in some cases, long-term tenure, more than 1 year. In Nigeria, long time is more than 1 year. In some countries, it could be 15, 20 years, but here, more than 1 year is long term. And the CBN is giving 3, 4 years and so forth and so on. That's the best we can get today. But take advantage. Make sure your business is not just grinding and crawling when it can run. And what it needs to run is some shot in the arm, which can come as a low-priced debt instrument from the capital market or from the monetary market. To invite equity partners, including private equity companies. The truth is that no business can really grow until it receives third-party funding. If you want to grow internally, organically, it's a tough job. But if you want to grow, you either look for debt or you look for equity. All the big businesses you find in the world today grew in that way. Very few grew organically, reinvesting what they saved. It's difficult to save money in an inflationary, hyperinflationary environment. So the way to continue to maintain capital adequacy is to invite additional capital, either debt or equity. And today we are seeing the presence of private equity companies, which can do wholesome investment in your business and divest after value has been created. But in all this, you need to be quite careful and be sure that you have a proper advice and legal competence in negotiating with private equity companies and other third-party investors. Fourthly, look for environment for favorable. The environment is favorable for debt acquisition, but plan cash flow deliberately. In my life, I borrowed money, and I know it is not easy to borrow money, but it's much easier to borrow than to pay. And the reason is that you have to plan your cash flow. You have to plan your cash flow, because otherwise you'll not be able to pay when the debt is due. And that's when the company gets into trouble. If you don't pay your interest due date, you don't retire your capital, then sooner or later you enter into trouble with the banks and your whole life will become miserable. So as you borrow money, please plan the repayment. At the same time, see how the cash flow will come to enable you pay back. Number 6, refocus on customer recruitment. I've said it, anybody that has heard me before, that the sole aim of any business growth is customer growth. The more you have more customers, the more your business grows. The more your customers can buy, the higher the frequency of purchase, your business will go up. So the focus of business management is customer recruitment. No matter what else you do, no matter what products you make, no matter how smart, how useful your brand, your value, your services are, if people who need them are not increasing, or if they are a fixed number, they are not buying more, your business cannot grow. There is no other way. So that should be a refocusing right now. Sharpen your marketing arsenals. Create a sharp-shooting sales team. Motivate them thoroughly so that they can go out, swim out to bring the ship on board. Improve your product quality stroke offering, including repackaging, trying new colors, new flavors. You know, there's always a feeling when something is new. You say this was pre-COVID, now in post-COVID, our colors have changed, our designs have changed, our offerings have changed. These things have a way of attracting interest, because people sooner or later get used to a particular color, they get used to a particular design, they get used to a particular offering. The human nature is always craving for change, even though we don't want to change, but we want everything else to change. So people who understand marketing and consumer behavior will every once in a while change the colors or add some fillip, add some dressings to their colors, to their packaging, to their offerings, create new brands, create new packaging, create new subdivisions, so that you have something new to tell about your product, and that drives interest. Delight your customers and your clients. Offer them an after-sales service that is next to none. Every customer has what we call post-purchase regret. After they buy things, they wonder whether they should have bought them or they were cheated. But good marketing people know how reinforcing those buying decisions and telling people, especially people who sell luxury goods, who sell real estate, they sell estate to you, then they call you back after a few days and ask you that, would you want your money back, that somebody else is paying them more money. That's a way of making you feel that you had a good bargain. So sustain a new level of after-sales service, because selling once is okay, but having repeat sales shows you have actually sold, because it means the customer got value from what he bought from you and is willing to come again. It's important to retain customers as you create them. Number 7, create innovation mode. Deliberate, develop new products, services, focus on R&D, and hedge against tomorrow. One of the things we have learned from COVID-19 is that the future is unpredictable, but those who prepare for the unknown future are more likely to survive and sail through than those who didn't at all plan and they were just planless. They are the ones that get carried away easily. So preempt the future, do scenario planning, and say, if this happens, what do we do? If that one happens, what do we do? So you have plan A, plan B, plan C, and pray. If nothing happens, you continue to sail on your plan A. But if something happens, you can return to plan B or plan C, and people may not know you've adjusted your plan. While they are still looking for what to do, you're already on the move, and you don't lose momentum. Be innovative. Be sure that your business is coming out with new products, new services. That is something you must continuously do, because things come and go. Every product has a life cycle. Every fashion has its life cycle. Every fad comes and goes. So you don't wait till your fad is gone before you start thinking of what next. Most good companies even kill the old products and introduce new one and create a new level of excitement, because every product has a growth profile. It starts, grows, plateaus, declines. You can reinvent the product, otherwise it can die. And then you start another one, even from the ashes of the dead product. That is the continuous innovation mode I'm speaking about. Number 8, expand your coast. Ladies and gentlemen, expand your coast. Do not remain in one spot. Do not remain in one location. Extend your territorial coverage. If you had one office, create 2. If you had one shop, open another one. If you have one outlet, create more outlets, because you need to be closer to the people. You need to make them see you, see your products, see your services. Otherwise, they may not travel 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers to look for you. Thank God we can make this presence felt using online opportunities. You can keep them focused on your brand, your product online. Otherwise, you create physical opportunities, how they can see and encounter your product, encounter your service. They wake up in the morning, they look right, they see you, they look left, they see you. Then they have no choice but to try you. Enter new markets. Beyond territorial coverage, with the same products, you can bring new markets. Entering new markets is new products, especially extension. If you're selling shoes, you start selling stockings. If you're selling shirts, you add ties. If you're selling coats, you add hats. You know, there are certain things that complement each other so that somebody can enter your shop and kit up straight. And instead of going from too many shops. So enter new markets, diversify your risk. I always preach multiple streams of income because you never can tell. The Bible says in the morning, sow thy seed. In the afternoon or in the evening, withhold not thy hand, because thou dost not know which one will prosper, either these or both of them. That's the wisdom of God. Diversify your risk. Don't just keep on one product or one service area. If anything goes wrong with it, you may go down. Actively recruit and retain new customers. Most businesses don't do active customer recruitment. They just wait for customers to come. Guys, okay, fine. But for me, you need to go out and look for customers. You need to prospect customers. You need to seek them. You know, you're not just waiting the day they enter your shop. You go out, swim out, man, and go and meet the customers in their homes, in the offices, and provide your product. If you cannot do on television or newspaper adverts, pulling or pushing them into your business, physically have to look for them. Again, thank God for technology. So we can do more of that recruitment of customers at a very small price, just maybe the cost of our data. So I think anybody that wants to grow and expand his coast has opportunity more than we used to have. Number 9, seek business alliances. Gentlemen, this is the time to leverage and grow bigger. Small businesses always have problems. They're easily getting reading. A little shock can overthrow them. But if you're stronger, you can resist change, you can resist hurricane, you can resist the gales and the winds and the headwinds better. So seek partnerships, you know, co-opetition, even in your industry, bind together to compete together, and then you bring a bigger market, you create leverages, you create efficiencies, you create bigger negotiating powers to negotiate with industry, to negotiate with distributors, to negotiate with suppliers, to negotiate with government, if you belong to industry groups. So co-optees, take franchises. Franchises on both sides are beneficial to the franchisees and the franchisers because you already have a developed system of business. You already have a business that is already known how it operates. So you're not reinventing the wheel. Let people guide you, buy into other people's brand equity. And that way you can accelerate market entry. Instead of coming with a brand new product that is not known, take franchise of an unknown product, take it into another location, take it into another platform, take it into another channel. Either way, you're able to hit the ground running because they already know the brand name, and all they needed is for you to create availability and accessibility. So think of mergers and acquisitions. If you are strong enough, acquire smaller business to strengthen you. If you are two big companies, can merge. And when two companies merge, they save. Instead of two head offices, they have one office. Instead of two managing directors, they have one managing director. And they can save money and put the money in buying raw materials, in providing service. They can have more working capital. And you might find that even with those measures, their ability to grow will remain. So they focus on the areas. Maybe they will increase their sales, marketing staff, but administrative staff, administrative expenses will go down in relationship as a percentage of sales turnover or volume of profit. You should always be looking at those, and mergers, acquisitions, partnerships help to improve, especially in markets like ours, where so many people are poor, they cannot accept price increases. You must seek ways to reduce costs so that you can trail them. Number 10, and the last, as I'm looking at my time, introduction of good corporate governance principles. We need guidance. We need help. And one way to have help in your company is to have a working board of directors that can share your burden with you, that can help you open doors. I will never forget telling the story. I was chairman CEO of Pfizer from 1993, when we became NIMET, I remained chairman CEO. I carried all the boarding of re-engineering the company, negotiating equity, negotiating debt, and all that. But in 2005, I had the wisdom to step down from the office of chairman and appointed somebody else. And I had almost 40% of my body removed. And I asked myself, wow, why did I carry all this burden all this while? You know, so please learn to share burdens, and the board is a good opportunity. They don't have to be shareholders. You can have an advisory board if they are not shareholders, or you don't want them to be statutory, but have people that you report to, people that ask you questions, people that can be a sounding board, people who are experts and knowledgeable in your industry and in business generally, you know, whom you can present your thoughts and they can have a look and say, these thoughts are good, this your plan is good, this one is not good enough. Who can open doors for you? You can call somebody whom you want to see and whom you probably won't be able to see on your own terms. That is why you need a working board of directors. Subscribe to good business ethics. Business ethics are important, especially for those of us who are Christians. There's something called Christian business ethics that determines that you must, make good products, provide good services, make decent profit, do not exploit, pay living wages to your staff, and ensure that you give back both to your community and both to the God who gave you. So that's what we're speaking about. Subscribe to good business ethics. Adopt corporate philanthropy. Corporate philanthropy is giving back to your community, giving back to the poor, the needy in your environment. The Bible says, he who lends to the poor lends to God. It says the liberal soul shall be rewarded, and he that waters shall be watered. So the same way it happens to individuals, the same way it happens to companies, the same way it happens to organizations, because all things are owned by the Creator. Fear God and leverage providence. I believe that we know that many of us, many people listening to me, will have their own testimonies of how they got to certain parts in their lives, in their businesses, and the only thing that could save them was providence. I still remember when I was carrying heavy load of weight of debt, and my life was harassed. But one day, God spoke to me. The day I said I was going to sell my house, He said, "You will not sell this house." I said, "Wow!" And God helped me to overcome that period of stress, and He provided money in ways I can never sufficiently understand. That's providence. But you cannot have those providence if you don't have a relationship with God. You must have established a relationship so that when you are in trouble, that God will come to your help. It says, seek Him early, seek Him when He can be found, so that when you now need Him, He will come. Let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen, before the MC gives me the red card. Conclusion: the post-COVID era has been an opportunity to reset our businesses. It is. It was an interruption, but a good interruption in some ways. Some of us for once had to rest, had to think, because we sat at home. Some developed new products during this holiday. Some have written books. Some have redesigned their products, done a lot of things during this period. And anybody who has not done it has missed the opportunity, but you can still do it. It's an opportunity to have a holistic look at your business and reset it for a new era. It's all how God tries to manage things in the world. With increasing availability of vaccines, the world is set to return fully to the new normal, which is what we are doing. This new normal that I can be speaking to you from Makodi, and many other people are, some are in Europe, some are in America, participating in this business. in this seminar. For those willing to adopt emerging market trends, there's a bright opportunity to recover lost grounds and scale up to new levels. Sincerely, I've told people that if people didn't die and all that, I would think that this COVID era has done so much good for people. My productivity has quadrupled, not just doubled, because I can juggle many balls in the air because of new technologies, because of new opportunities. So anybody whose productivity and output is declining, the person is not awake, is not using the opportunity God has provided for us today. You can just be as active and as productive from morning till night. You can have meetings with people at their own convenience after hours. If you're a prospector of businesses, you're looking to get new customers, you can talk to them when they are willing to talk to you, not being restricted to 8 to 5 or 8 to 3. They may decide when next is for you to call. You can do video conferencing, you can do WhatsApp conferencing, you can do or go to a meeting, you can use Zoom. There's so much now to be doing business. So do not let this opportunity pull up. So I pray that we all at this seminar will have testimonies as we allow the Holy Spirit to enable us with wisdom to apply the nuggets suggested above, and the many more we shall receive during these 2 days. Many more nuggets, many more ideas will come our way. Let's keep our hearts open. Let's keep our ears open. And let God speak to us, because that is the way, that's the way to business recovery and growth. Thank you for your attention. God bless you all.